The galaxy was supposed to be calm. For decades, Earth had lived quietly among the many star systems, learning, trading, and slowly growing stronger. The great alien coalition called the Zeltrax had long been known for their power and strict control over the galactic borders, but Earth was never seen as a threat or even a serious player. That peaceful illusion shattered one fateful day during a diplomatic summit held on the massive space station Orion's Light, a place built to bring species together and solve problems through talks instead of war. The summit had been a moment of hope. Leaders from countless worlds gathered in one place, ready to discuss trade agreements and peaceful cooperation. Earth's leader, a man known for his wisdom and kindness, was there to represent humanity's hopes for a better future. No one expected that the Zeltrax would use this event for a brutal act that would echo through the stars for years to come. In the middle of a calm conversation, just as cameras from all over the galaxy recorded the moment, a sudden blast shattered the silence. The Earth leader fell instantly, struck down by a precise attack no one could have predicted. Chaos erupted. Security forces rushed to the scene, but the assassin was going to vanish like a shadow. The whole galaxy froze in disbelief. How could this happen here, in a place of peace? The Zeltrax quickly claimed it was a mistake, blaming a rogue agent. But the truth was clear to many. The killing was a message, a dark warning to Earth. The loss sent a shockwave not only through the diplomatic halls but straight to every human heart on Earth. Families watched the news, tears streaming down their faces, while leaders around the world met in urgent crisis talks. The man who had dreamed of a united humanity and peaceful coexistence was gone, leaving a painful silence where hope once lived. Yet, despite the shock, something unexpected began to grow among the people of Earth. The grief was deep, but it did not break them. Instead, it sparked a fire of fierce determination that spread from city to city, village to village. In every language, from every corner of the planet, voices rose in unity. Humans had always faced challenges, natural disasters, wars, and hardships, but this attack felt personal, like a betrayal by the universe itself. The betrayal forced them to look at themselves and each other in a new light. For too long, they had seen their place in the galaxy as small, weak, and unimportant. Now, they knew they had to change that story. Across the globe, people from all walks of life joined together, no longer divided by race, nationality, or political views. They shared a single goal: to protect their home, their people, and their future from anyone who would threaten it again. Hidden talents and strengths that many had overlooked before began to emerge. Scientists who had long worked quietly in their labs suddenly became heroes of progress, pushing the boundaries of technology with ideas that once seemed impossible. Engineers designed new ships and weapons powered by clean, nearly unlimited energy sources. Soldiers trained harder, not just to fight, but to protect with honor and strategy. Young minds created systems that combined artificial intelligence and human intuition to form a new kind of defense. The media broadcast stories of courage and hope, stories that reminded everyone that humanity was far from powerless. And the shadows, spies, and diplomats worked to understand the Zeltrax better, uncovering secrets that might help turn the tide in the battles to come. Everywhere, the pulse of a new humanity beat stronger and faster, ready to rise from the pain. Galactic. Neighbors who had once ignored Earth began to take notice. The Zeltrax had expected to see a frightened and broken species, one that would bow and ask for mercy. Instead, they witnessed the opposite, a planet united in its grief but burning with determination. Messages flew between stars. Some offered support, others warned caution, and many watched silently, curious to see if Earth could really become the force it promised. Among the alien populations, debates sparked. Was humanity a threat or a potential ally? Could a species that had been so quiet for so long suddenly become a leader? The Zeltrax themselves grew uneasy, sensing the ground shifting beneath their feet. Their plan to weaken Earth had backfired, revealing a strength they had not imagined at the heart of it all. The memory of the fallen leader became a symbol, a beacon for all that humanity could achieve when united. Murals and statues appeared in cities and space stations alike, showing the leader's calm, smiling face alongside the words of peace he had always spoken. People spoke his name with respect, and with the promise that his vision would not die. With him, young children learned about him in schools, while adults in council chambers made plans based on his ideals. The story was clear. This was not the end for Earth, but a new beginning. The leader's death had been a spark that ignited a revolution not of violence, but of determination, creativity, and courage. It was a call to action for every human, and the galaxy could feel it. Despite the pain, there was no turning back. Humanity had opened its eyes to a larger universe where survival meant strength, wisdom, and unity. The days of being underestimated were over. The Zeltrax had fired the first shot, but humanity's response would be unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The quiet planet at the edge of space was ready to rise, not with hatred, but with a fierce pride and a desire to protect what was theirs. The future was uncertain, filled with dangers and challenges. But the people of Earth faced it together, their spirits unbroken and their will unshaken. From the ashes of tragedy, a new chapter began, one where humanity would prove that it was not just a species of Earth, but a rising force in the galaxy, ready to shape its own destiny. After the brutal loss of their leader, humanity refused to crumble beneath the weight of sorrow. Instead, Earth rose like a phoenix from its ashes, fueled by a determination that no one could ignore. Across continents and oceans, scientists, engineers, and thinkers poured their hearts and minds into advancing human technology faster than ever before. Laboratories that once struggled for funding now received global support, and research accelerated at an astonishing rate. They worked day and night to develop new weapons, shields, and spacecraft that could match or even surpass the technology of the galaxy's most powerful races.
Wow.
But it wasn't just technology that changed, it was the human spirit itself. Inspired by ancient stories of resilience, from myths of heroes who overcame impossible odds to the real history of humans surviving harsh conditions on their own planet, a new generation of leaders and warriors emerged. These men and women were no longer simply representatives of Earth. They were the embodiment of humanity's fierce will to survive and protect their home. They trained in secret bases deep underground and on distant space colonies, preparing for battles that many hoped would never come but knew were inevitable. Meanwhile, communication channels between Earth and its scattered colonies grew stronger, forming networks of information and trust that bridged light years. These alliances formed the backbone of a growing human fleet, a collection of ships and stations equipped with technology powered by a mysterious energy source recently discovered deep within the Earth's core. This energy, clean and almost limitless, allowed ships to travel faster and fight harder, giving humans an edge that surprised many in the galaxy. The Zeltrax, confident in their dominance, dismissed Earth as a minor problem, a weak planet that could be controlled or ignored. Their leaders viewed humanity as a mere nuisance, an insignificant player in the larger galactic game. But this underestimation was a fatal mistake. Earth's new leaders understood that survival depended not just on strength but on unity and innovation. The people learned to combine their skills in unexpected ways, blending the old with the new ancient wisdom with cutting-edge science. Scientists used their knowledge of biology and technology to create medical advancements that could heal wounds quickly, allowing soldiers to return to battle faster. Engineers designed ships with adaptive shields that could change shape and power in response to enemy attacks, making human vessels hard to predict and harder to destroy. And tacticians studied both human history and alien warfare to develop strategies that played to humanity's greatest strengths: adaptability, creativity, and stubborn endurance. As the human fleet grew, it became clear that Earth was no longer alone in its fight. Many space colonies, once isolated and struggling for survival, now stood united with their home planet. These colonies had suffered under Zeltrax's rule, and their hatred for the oppressive coalition ran deep. They sent their best pilots, engineers, and soldiers to join the human cause, swelling the ranks of the fleet. Secret meetings between representatives of Earth and the colonies forged agreements of cooperation and defense. Underground resistance groups on occupied planets sent vital intelligence back to Earth, allowing humans to plan their moves with precision. Even some neutral species, who had watched the Zeltrax's cruelty from afar, quietly supported humanity, seeing them as a beacon of hope in a galaxy ruled by fear. This growing alliance was a puzzle the Zeltrax had failed to anticipate, and it gave humanity a strength that went beyond weapons, and ships that gave them hope. Tensions rose as the new human fleet tested its power in small skirmishes against Zeltrax patrols, each encounter sharpening their skills and revealing weaknesses in their enemies' defenses. The galaxy began to whisper about Earth's rising force, about a species that refused to be crushed. Traders, smugglers, and explorers carried tales of human courage and ingenuity from one system to another, slowly building a legend that spread across star lanes. But with every victory came the shadow of greater battles ahead. The Zeltrax increased their efforts to crush the growing rebellion, sending elite forces to disrupt supply lines and sabotage human colonies. Sabotage and counter-sabotage became a dangerous game, each side trying to outsmart the other in a deadly dance. The stakes grew higher, and the cost of failure became clear. If Earth fell, the galaxy would slip deeper into darkness. Yet humanity's leaders remained calm and focused. They knew the road ahead would be long and hard, filled with sacrifices that no one wanted to make. But they also understood that they had something no other species could claim: a deep bond, formed in the fire of shared loss and a belief in their own potential. It was this belief that drove the human fleet forward, pushing their ships faster, their weapons sharper, their minds clearer. They trained harder, fought smarter, and planned carefully for the day when they would face the Zeltrax in a battle that could decide the fate of the galaxy. From the ashes of tragedy, Earth had grown stronger. It's no longer a quiet planet, but a rising power with a fierce heart and a clear purpose. The galaxy was watching, and humanity was ready to show the stars that they were here not just to survive, but to lead. After years of preparation and quiet growth, humanity was finally ready to make its first move against the Zeltrax. The time for waiting had passed. With carefully planned precision, the human fleet launched a coordinated offensive aimed directly at the Zeltrax's far-reaching outposts, the hidden supply centers and communication hubs that kept the coalition's power flowing across the galaxy. The operation was unlike any other in history. Ships moved through space like shadows, appearing suddenly at one location, striking hard, and vanishing before the enemy could react. Each strike was designed not just to damage, but to send a message. Earth was no longer weak or afraid. Human commanders used every advantage they had, learned unpredictability, a rapid adaptation, and relentless determination to outmaneuver foes who had trained for centuries in the art of war. The battles that followed were fierce and fast, often fought in the silence of space, where only the flashes of laser fire and the hum of engines broke the stillness. Human fighters used unconventional tactics, sometimes appearing to retreat only to circle back and strike from an unexpected angle. This kept the Zeltrax off balance, forcing them to abandon their usual confidence and rethink their strategies. The enemy had always relied on overwhelming force and strict discipline, but humanity's willingness to take risks and think differently caught them off guard. Each victory, no matter how small, was celebrated on Earth and across human colonies. News of the strikes traveled quickly, inspiring hope and pride in people who had lived under fear for too long. But it wasn't just humans who took notice. Alien species scattered across the galaxy watched the sudden rise of humanity with a mixture of caution and curiosity. Some feared that Earth's defiance might bring greater conflict, while others quietly admired the courage and strength of the human people. In secret meetings in shadowed corners of distant starports, whispers of support for Earth began to spread. Certain species, long oppressed or ignored by the Zeltrax, saw in humanity a potential ally who could challenge the old order. These secret supporters provided intelligence, supplies, and even safe havens for human ships moving through hostile territory. The galaxy's balance of power was starting to shift, and the Zeltrax realized that their once easy dominance was at risk. Despite this growing support, the first strikes were not without cost. Human commanders understood that every attack invited retaliation. The Zeltrax responded swiftly, sending fleets to hunt down the human ships and protect their key assets. Battles grew bloodier and more dangerous as both sides tested each other's limits. Some human ships were lost, brave crews giving their lives for a cause greater than themselves. Yet even in these losses, the spirit of humanity remained unbroken. The fleet learned from each encounter, improving their tactics and growing stronger. Their leaders reminded them that these sacrifices were steps toward a future where Earth would no longer live in fear or submission. The world watched, holding its breath as the war expanded beyond the stars into every corner of human society. One of the most surprising elements of the offensive was the way humans combined technology. With their deep understanding of unpredictability, where many species relied on rigid rules and protocols, humans used their creativity to turn even the simplest tools into weapons of opportunity. A small reconnaissance ship, for example, might carry not just sensors but also holographic projectors that created false images, confusing enemy radars, and allowing a fleet to sneak past undetected. On the battlefield, human soldiers adapted their tactics on the fly, changing formations and strategies as situations evolved. This flexibility frustrated the Zeltrax commanders, who were used to controlling the battlefield with strict discipline. The human approach was like a flowing river. It's able to find new paths and overcome obstacles through persistence and cleverness. This unpredictability became a powerful weapon, proving that strength alone was not enough to win in the vast reaches of space. The human fleet's rapid strikes sent a clear message not just to the Zeltrax, but to the entire galaxy. Earth would no longer bow or negotiate from weakness. It was a turning point in human history and galactic politics alike. The species that had once been seen as minor players now demanded respect and recognition. Messages and signals from Earth carried a new tone, firm, confident, and unafraid. This shift sparked new hope among those who longed for freedom from oppression and inspired caution in those who believed their power was absolute. The galaxy's political landscape, once dominated by the fear and control of the Zeltrax, now faced a challenge unlike any before. Humanity's rising strength created new alliances and rivalries. Even the most powerful species knew that the future would be shaped by this unexpected force. Despite the excitement and pride, the leaders of Earth remained cautious. They knew that the war had only just begun and greater dangers lay ahead. The Zeltrax were a ruthless enemy with deep resources, and they would not give up easily. The human commanders planned their next moves carefully, knowing that every strike had to count. The lessons learned in these early battles would guide them as they prepared for the larger conflicts to come. Behind every victory was a reminder of what was at stake: a future where humanity could live free and respected, or one where fear and control might return. The stakes could not be higher, but neither could humanity's resolve. The first strike was not just a military success. It was the moment when Earth announced itself as a new power in the galaxy. It was a call to all who watched, a warning and an invitation. For some, it was a sign of hope and change. For others, a threat to their old ways. But for humanity, it was proof that they could rise, fight, and win against the greatest odds. The battles ahead would test their strength, courage, and unity. But if the first strike showed anything, it was that Earth was ready. Ready to defend its people, ready to fight for justice, and ready to change the course of history forever. After months of relentless conflict, the human fleet surged forward with a strength and confidence that echoed across the galaxy. They had tested their limits, sharpened their skills, and learned the true cost of war. Now, the moment of truth had arrived, a decisive battle that would take place near the heart of the galaxy, close to the galactic core, where the fate of many worlds would be decided. This confrontation was not just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the future of all species. A struggle between the old order represented by the Zeltrax and a new era led by humanity's fierce resolve. As human ships gathered, their crews prepared with quiet determination, aware that they faced the most dangerous and powerful enemy they had ever known. The Zeltrax leadership, confident in their past victories and their control over countless Star systems underestimated the depth of humanity's spirit and the brilliance of their strategies. They saw the human fleet as a final nuisance to be crushed once and for all. But they did not realize that Earth's warriors fought with more than weapons. They fought with the hopes of every oppressed civilization, with the memory of their fallen leader, and with an unbreakable will to protect their future. The battle began with a thunderous exchange of fire as fleets collided in the dark void near the galactic core. The Zeltrax unleashed their full might, their ships bristling. With powerful weapons and defended by advanced shields, they moved with practiced precision, attempting to surround and overwhelm the humans with superior numbers and firepower. But the human fleet responded with a blend of careful planning and bold improvisation. Commanders shifted formations swiftly, using small groups of fighters to disrupt supply lines and communication links while larger vessels focused on breaking enemy defenses. The fight was brutal and chaotic, yet controlled a dance of light and sound, where every decision counted. Human pilots displayed remarkable skill, weaving through enemy fire and striking vulnerable points with lasers and missiles that were the result of years of innovation. Meanwhile, soldiers aboard the ships prepared for boarding actions, ready to reclaim enemy vessels if the opportunity arose. The air was thick with tension as both sides fought fiercely, knowing that the outcome would reshape the galaxy. What set humanity apart in this great battle was their relentless spirit and strategic genius. Unlike the Zeltrax, who relied on tradition and rigid tactics, humans adapted quickly to the changing battlefield. When an attack failed, they learned and adjusted. When a new threat appeared, they met it with creativity and courage. Human commanders coordinated their forces with clear communication and trust, empowering their teams to act decisively in the heat of battle. Their fighters exploited weaknesses in the Zeltrax fleet, using unexpected maneuvers and surprise attacks to break the enemy's formations. This adaptability frustrated the Zeltrax leaders, who could not predict where the next strike would come from or how to respond effectively. The humans fought not only with skill, but with passion, a passion born from a deep desire to protect their homes, their families, and their very existence. It was this unyielding spirit that began to turn the tide of the battle, pushing the Zeltrax forces back, despite their initial advantage. On the ground and inside the ships, the fight took on a deeply personal meaning. Every human soldier knew they carried the weight of their people's future. They fought not only for revenge against the cruelty that had cost their leader his life, but for something much larger, the chance to build a galaxy where justice and peace could truly exist. This motivation fueled their bravery and strengthened their resolve. They faced danger without hesitation, inspired by the belief that their struggle was not just for themselves, but for all species suffering under oppression. Stories of individual heroism spread quickly throughout the fleet. Pilots who saved comrades from destruction, engineers who repaired critical systems under fire, and leaders who made impossible choices to protect their crews. These acts of courage became a beacon of hope, proving that humanity's heart was as strong as its weapons. Despite the Zeltrax's fierce resistance, the battle gradually shifted in favor of the humans. The once confident Zeltrax commanders found themselves on the defensive, their ships forced into retreat. The galactic core, a place once dominated by the Zeltrax, became a symbol of their weakening power. As the human fleet pressed forward, they captured key outposts and dismantled the enemy's command structures, cutting off reinforcements and isolating Zeltrax forces from each other. The victory was hard-won and costly, but it was clear the Zeltrax empire was breaking apart, and a new galactic order was beginning to take shape. With the defeat of the Zeltrax leadership, humanity did not seek revenge or domination. Instead, they stepped forward with a vision of peace and cooperation, one that recognized the rights and voices of all species. Earth's leaders worked tirelessly to build alliances and trust among former enemies and oppressed peoples alike. The memory of the fallen leader whose death had sparked this great upheaval guided their decisions toward justice and unity rather than hatred and revenge. This approach earned humanity respect throughout the galaxy, transforming their image from a rising threat to a beacon of hope. The new order they helped create promised a future where peace would be protected by strength and fairness, where no species could threaten others with impunity, and where cooperation was the key to survival. The battle near the galactic core became more than a military victory, became a turning point in history. It showed that even the most powerful empires could be challenged when a determined people united behind a just cause. Humanity's success inspired other species to stand against oppression, creating a ripple effect of change that spread through the stars. The galaxy watched as Earth took its place, not as a frightened planet, but as a respected leader with a warning to those who might threaten peace again. This new role carried great responsibility, but humanity was ready. Their warriors and diplomats alike understood that true strength came from standing together, protecting the weak, and fighting not for power, but for a future where all could live free. As the dust settled over the battlefield, people of Earth and their allies looked toward the horizon with cautious hope. The war had been long and hard, filled with sacrifice and loss, but it had also revealed the best of humanity. From the shattering signal that had sparked their wrath to this moment of galactic reckoning, humanity had proven that they could face any challenge and rise stronger. The galaxy was changed forever. So was Earth. What came next would depend on the choices they made now. But one thing was clear. The age of humanity had arrived, and with it, a new dawn for the stars. In the quiet that followed the storm of war, humanity stood transformed. No longer the fledgling species once underestimated by the galaxy, but a powerful force respected across the stars. The memories of the fallen leader, whose life had been cruelly taken, but whose spirit ignited a fire in the hearts of millions, became the foundation of a new era, one built on cooperation, exploration, and a deep commitment to justice. Earth, once seen as a distant blue planet of little importance, emerged as a symbol of resilience and hope. A shining example that even in the darkest times, the human spirit could rise stronger and change the course of history. Governments and leaders across the galaxy looked to Earth not only for its military strength, but for its vision of peace and equality. Humans reached out beyond their own borders, forming alliances with other species based on mutual respect and trust, not fear or domination. These alliances were different from the old broken systems of power. They were partnerships that valued every voice and sought to prevent future conflicts through dialogue and understanding. Humanity's influence expanded into every corner of the galaxy. Scientists and explorers, inspired by their leaders' courage, set out to discover new worlds, pushing the boundaries of knowledge and technology. They sought not only to claim territory, but to learn and share, building bridges between species and cultures that had once seemed impossible. The mysterious energy source discovered deep within Earth's core became a catalyst for these advances, powering starships and cities alike, while also fueling hopes of a cleaner, more sustainable future for all civilizations. On Earth, societies thrived in ways never imagined before, united by the knowledge that their struggles had meaning beyond their planet. Education and innovation flourished, with young minds eager to carry forward the legacy of resilience and hope. The story of their leader's assassination was no longer just a tale of loss, but a powerful reminder of what could be achieved when a people refused to surrender to despair. As humanity's presence grew, so did its role as a guardian of peace. Earth became a center for diplomatic efforts, hosting summits and negotiations that brought together former enemies and allies alike. Humans used their hard-earned wisdom to mediate disputes, striving to create a galaxy where cooperation outweighed conflict. The military forces that had fought so bravely now served as protectors of this new order, ready to defend those who could not defend themselves and to ensure that the horrors of war would not return. These efforts were not without challenges. Old wounds and rivalries still simmered beneath the surface, and not all species welcomed humanity's rise. Yet, with patience and determination, humans worked to heal divisions and build trust. Once feared again that their wrath once feared. This could be a force for a profound and lasting change. The legacy of humanity's wrath was complex, marked by sacrifice and struggle, but ultimately defined by hope and renewal. Stories of the great battle near the galactic core were told and retold, not as celebrations of violence, but as lessons in courage, unity, and the power of standing up against oppression. Statues and memorials honored the brave souls who had given their lives, reminding future generations of the price paid for freedom and peace. The memory of their fallen leader remained alive in ceremonies and stories, a symbol of the cost of injustice and the strength found in resistance. These traditions helped bind together a diverse and growing population, united not only by their shared victories, but by their commitment to a better future. Looking to the stars, humanity embraced its new role with humility and strength. They understood that power came with responsibility, and that the true measure of their success would be the peace and prosperity they could help create across the galaxy. The challenges ahead were many, from the unknown dangers lurking in uncharted space to the ongoing work of fostering unity among diverse peoples. But humans were no longer alone in facing these challenges. Allies from countless worlds stood beside them, sharing knowledge, culture, and hope. Together, they forged a path forward, one where the mistakes of the past would not be repeated, and where the dreams of countless beings could flourish. The new dawn for humanity was not simply the end of a war, it was the beginning of an era, where the lessons of pain and loss shaped a future full of promise. It was a time when humanity's wrath, born from tragedy, had become a source of strength and inspiration. The galaxy watched as Earth led with a steady hand and an open heart, proving that even after the darkest nights, the light of hope could shine brighter than ever before. For generations to come, this new era would be remembered not just as a story of war, but as the birth of a legacy that changed the galaxy forever.